One of the most important military allies of the United States traces way back to Southeast Asia in the tiny, bustling nation of Singapore. Here, in a country with no more than 5 million people and just about 3 times the size of Washington, D.C., is thriving with more than 2,000 American companies. But that is not really what makes Singapore special. You see, Singapore is more than just an economic interest of the United States. No, in fact, they hold a precious line within the United States military affairs. And here's how. Since the Cold War, the US has continuously been on a lookout for its allies to counter the spread of communism. Singapore sat at a precarious place in Southeast Asia where big battles were being fought. The US-Singapore relationship had been a cooperative one that stretches way back to this era. Yet as the Cold War ended, the rationale for a stronger alliance persisted. The alliance today stands as a key part that spreads all across the Asian continent. This is because since 1990, the US and Singaporean governments signed a Memorandum of Understanding, which laid the framework for the US Army to use facilities in Singapore. These facilities, according to the US government, were to give them access to Singapore's air and naval bases and provide logistical support for transiting personnel, aircraft, and vessels. Through 2019, the US and Singapore have then signed the Protocol of Amendment to the 1990 Memorandum of Understanding regarding United States use of facilities in Singapore, extending the MOU for another 15 years. To put it simply, the US has been accessing and will access Singapore facilities for decades. Additionally, Singapore also acts as a logistics hub for the US military. In other words, it isn't really just about parking US military aircrafts or navies in Singapore, it is about maintaining that line of resupplyment. Singapore's state-of-the-art facilities offer the American military the ability to quickly respond to various regional crises. In case anything happens, the US can immediately send off its forces to a part of Southeast Asia or Asia in general and then resupply them when needed. Now, access and basing are not the sole factors that are in play here. In fact, the two's alliance is far, far more than that. You see, it is known that the Singapore Armed Forces has continuously played a role with the US Armed Forces in operations such as the Global Coalition, counter-piracy efforts, and being a host for the combating against piracy and armed robbery against ships in Asia. On top of joining the US Army's efforts in fending off issues globally, the Singapore Armed Forces has also been a recipient of big billion-dollar military equipment. According to a 2023 report, the United States has $8.38 billion in active government-to-government sales cases with Singapore under the Foreign Military System. The FMS has significant sales including air-to-ground munitions kits and services, F-15SG munitions, Harpoon, AMRAAM and Sidewinder missiles, F-15SG pilot training, AH-64D Apache helicopters, FMU-139DB fuses, F-16 Block 52 upgrades, and so much more. On a separate note, from 2019 to 2021, the US has also authorized the permanent export of over $26.3 billion in defense articles to Singapore. These range from aircraft parts and components to gas turbine engines and military electronics. These equipment are arguably the most exciting part of their partnership, so we will dive more into that later on in the video. For now, let us still see the extent of their partnership. What is also included in this big alliance is that more than 1,000 Singaporean military units participate in training exercises and professional military education in the United States. This means that Singaporean military personnel are training side by side with US troops. Even Singaporean pilots who use the F-16, AH-64D, and F-15SG are trained in parts of the US. After all, Singapore has been operating advanced fighter jets in the US for the past 27 years. And finally, the US and Singapore have also continued to participate in joint naval operations. The yearly Tiger Bomb exercise between the Singapore Army and the US Army is the oldest bilateral training opportunity dating back to 1980. It is also known that Singapore has the second largest permanent foreign military training presence in the continental United States. These continue to enhance the training given to one another's capabilities. Some deployments are even being used to facilitate patrols in the South China Sea. So now you get it. The US and Singapore hold a very big and promising military alliance. But Singapore alone is also formidable. Yes, because it has Uncle Sam as its supplier of military equipment. It is long known that Singapore has continuously been acquiring F-35s from the US. F-35s are not just any fighter jets. They are America's next generational aerial combat strategy. According to a February 2020 report, the Singaporean government had acquired up to 12 F-35B Joint Strike Fighter jets, the first sale to any Southeast Asian country. These jets are so formidable that each cost about 115 million US dollars, or 160 million Singaporean dollars. This also means that these jets are going to be Singapore's most expensive and advanced arsenal at the time of acquisition. To further emphasize, the F-35 is manufactured by the big American military supplier Lockheed Martin. According to the company's official report, the F-35 is the world's most advanced fighter jet. The F-35B has a combat radius of 833 kilometers with a speed of over 1,976 kilometers per hour. The F-35B will basically shape the future of Singapore's air forces. It is known that Singapore will take the first delivery of these in 2026. But the F-35's not the sole aircraft that they acquired from the US. They also acquired the C-130 and F-16, both aircrafts that they have been using for decades. On top of these aircrafts, there are various other acquisitions out there, but we will not dive deeper into them today. Now, what we can understand from this military alliance is that they are vital in shaping the Asian century. China has always posed a diplomatic conundrum for Singapore when it comes to its relationship with Beijing. Singapore has always pursued a balanced foreign policy and maintains significant trade relations with China. Singapore even insists that its military alliance with the US is not aimed at any third country. This brought Chinese officials to express reservations about this partnership, and it's an open secret that Beijing is wary of any enhancement in US military presence close to its geographical borders. These assets from Singapore, after all, have capabilities that could be used for surveillance and reconnaissance missions in the South China Sea, a region with overlapping territorial claims and where China has been increasingly assertive. Further, the U.S. military alliance also poses a form of influence. The U.S. presence in Singapore gives Washington a platform to project its values, such as democracy and human rights, which can clash with China's governance model. As countries in the region pick sides or try to maintain a delicate balance, the U.S.-Singapore alliance becomes a significant variable in the equation. Moreover, while the US-Singapore military alliance contributes to regional stability by serving as a deterrent to potential aggressors, it also raises questions about arms races and shifting alliances. Other countries in the region may seek to bolster their own military capabilities or forge new alliances as a counterbalance. Hence, what Singapore really needs to do is to ensure that this partnership isn't too lean towards one country. Singapore shouldn't lean too much on the US, nor should it lean too much on China. It needs to strike a balance that can help ensure that the region stays safe and prosperous. But anyway, do let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.